Well, welcome to week 3 of the MLS season and another week of the AT&T countdown to kickoff as we get you set for Atlanta United and New England Revolution in Foxborough on Saturday. I'm Mike Conti with Jason Longshore, the radio announce crew for Atlanta United. You know, the club's social media team, they had a little bit of fun with us last week. They said that we would have lots of hot takes on the AT&T countdown to kickoff last week. We're not trying to really do the hot takes. We're
Do
just
we
trying
need
to get
to?
far. Well, I don't know. I mean, my hot take might have been my prediction, which kind of sort of came true, which we can get into a little later on.
That's a stretch.
No, it kind of, okay. All right, let's stop right here. Because my prediction last week was that Atlanta United was going to score off a direct free kick or a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
They scored in a sequence that started on a direct free kick. In fact, I would even argue Ezequiel Barco, we're going to show you the highlight in a moment, I would even argue maybe he intentionally hit it off the Chicago
He
wall,
called bank?
knowing that he would get the bank, and then he would score that golazo. Right?
That's a spicy take.
No, it's not. No spicy takes here. No spicy takes. Just a lot of analysis, but obviously a lot of fun. We hope you're enjoying our new format, by the way. We're going to talk to Emerson Hyndman in a little bit. A lot to get into because it's been a very busy week for Atlanta United, and it's going to be another very busy week coming up. On Saturday, Atlanta United beat Chicago Fire 3-1. That was a really fun match to watch. And you know, on Tuesday, Jason, at the Benz, it was a fun match to watch, especially for the first 45 to 50 minutes. Atlanta United peppering Andre Blake in that Philadelphia goal with a lot of different chances. And this is one of those matches on Tuesday night where the scoreline, I don't think, reflects how well Atlanta United really played.
Yeah, the first 45 was the best Atlanta United's played in 2021, in my opinion. And we'll take a look at those highlights from CONCACAF Champions League. Quarterfinal, leg 1. It was Atlanta early. Jurgen Damm with a great opportunity, but Andre Blake made 5 big saves in the first half. That one from Franco Ibarra, who I think is going to be due for one of those long-range bombs. And Emerson Hyndman with one of the best chances that we've seen for Atlanta United this season. Off the hop, forces a huge save. Joseph Martinez getting in on the act, playing creator for Marcelino Moreno. Another huge save. It felt like a matter of time before Atlanta United unlocked Philadelphia in this one. Joseph with a great opportunity that forced a save. Almost caught Andre Blake by surprise, going with the outside of the left foot at the near post. Blake gets his hands up, but he does spill the rebound. Even early in the second half, Atlanta United had more opportunities. Jurgen Damm with the patience laying it off. Another big save from Blake. And we see it happen all the time. You have all the chances, you don't convert, you get punished. And Kasper Shabilko is that guy. He will punish you when he gets that much space. Mark gets lost. Shabilko, you can see it here. 2 players kind of both looking at one another, as we see on goal number 2 as well. It led to this break for Philadelphia. They take advantage of the odd man rush, and it's Shabilko again. Atlanta really pushed hard to get a quick equalizer. Maybe a little bit of nerves in the CONCACAF Champions League. Down 2-0, you absolutely have to push for one to cut it in half. You don't get that, and you're prone to giving up an opportunity on the break, as we see here. Anthony Fontana buries it, and Atlanta United falls 3-0 in a match that the scoreline doesn't reflect the level of play. Philadelphia, obviously the better team on the night because they get the win. They get 3 goals. But Atlanta in the first 45, I'll even stretch it to 55, had a wide margin of being the better team in that phase of play. They just didn't get anything to show for it. And when you don't do that, you're prone to getting punished. And a good team like Philadelphia will find a way to do that. I don't think it's the game that Jim Curtin wants to play in general. They want more of the ball. But they adjusted in the second half. They get goals against the run of play, and they open the game up and have a huge lead going into second leg.
That's soccer. It can be cruel and a little bit unlucky at times. You know, a lot of people were saying on social media Tuesday night at halftime, that was the most fun they've ever had watching Atlanta United play. And they didn't have a goal to show for it, but the chance creation and and the positioning and the speed. Like you really felt like everything was kind of coming together for Atlanta United. It really is unfortunate that they were not able to put one or two past Andre Blake, because the match is totally different. If Atlanta United
Easily.
gets a goal in the first 20 minutes, or if they get two goals in the first 20 minutes, match state is totally different. Philadelphia has to approach it from a totally different way. It's almost like Philadelphia getting the set piece goal against the run of play just put Atlanta United in a position where they probably did not react as positively as maybe they had hoped. And the good thing is, if you're looking for a silver lining, Jason, is that it can be a learning experience going forward.
You have to go through those moments as a group. You have to be able to lean on one another. You have to be able to trust one another in those pressure packed situations. And ultimately, you'll come good, because the quality of play we saw in that first 45 was incredible. It was incredibly beautiful soccer, and it was intense. It had pace to it, but it was very creative as well. There were so many different ways you were creating chances. It was wonderful to watch. And my flashback is, you go back to Pep Guardiola's first year at Barcelona, and his team started slow with results, and there was pressure on that. But players came to him and said, do not change a thing. We are going to break through. And I think you got a sense of Gabriel Heinze's mentality after the match, where he talked about how proud he was of this team, how he talked about, this is the way to play, this is the way to go forward. You correct the mistakes, and you correct maybe the mentality lapses that happen late, focus lapses that happen in the second half. But the way you play, that's the way you play. We saw it against Philadelphia. You find the back of the net playing that way, you're going to have big wins this season.
Yeah, I like what he said. It invites us the opportunity to work on these issues now. And he was very pleased with the chance creation. As far as chance creation is concerned, it's really been a couple good matches in a row for Atlanta United. Chicago, that was such a fun match on Saturday as we kind of transitioned to what happened in Atlanta United's 3-1 win against Chicago. The real key for Atlanta United on Saturday, and there were a lot of players who had fantastic matches, but Ezequiel Barco played at such a high level against Chicago Fire. We're kind of spotlighting Barco here in our player to watch. And the work rate, forget the goal for a second. We're going to see the goal, but just the work rate from Ezequiel Barco on Saturday was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, Ezequiel Barco has had some big games in Atlanta United kits before. Kansas City in 2019, New England in 2019. This was the best of the batch, for sure. And it was on the ball. It was off the ball. It was creating for others. It was the goal off of the rebound from the free kick that you see Santiago Sosa inching up there. Barco wasn't letting anybody else have that. The reaction from him after getting that goal that he had worked so hard for, he hit that ball about as well as you can possibly hit it in that way. He's going right to left. He hits it so hard that he's spinning around like a top, doesn't even see it go in. It's a beautiful goal, and it's what he's deserved with the quality of play we've seen, because he's in a different role this year. It's not just get the ball, go to goal, get your 1v1s, create chances. It's, we're asking you to score more this season. We need goals from you. It's, we need you to track back and defend, and he's one of the team leaders in tackles, by the way. Tackles 1 per match. You wouldn't have guessed that from Ezequiel Barco when he arrived. He's becoming a much more complete player. I think this way of playing will continue to see more layers added to his game, and if you get more performances like he had against Chicago, Ezequiel Barco is a potential best 11 member in Major League Soccer at the end of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it was part of a great team performance on Saturday. And I know it feels like it's a long time ago, but it was, as we record this on Friday, only 6 days ago. That could have been a 5-4 game, by the way. It really did feel that way. Chicago hit woodwork 3 times. Atlanta United had a couple really, really high percentage scoring opportunities that they weren't able to convert on. But it's amazing how much Atlanta United advanced from the scoreless draw in Orlando to the 3-1 win in Chicago, as far as being threatening in the attacking third, getting into dangerous spots, and creating chances.
Yeah, and I think you saw even more progression against Philadelphia. It sounds crazy because of the score line in that one, but you look at game one in Costa Rica to the Philadelphia match, and the quality of chances being created is better. I think the quantity is better as well, and just the level of play, which is a hard thing to quantify at times. People have different opinions on what's good soccer, what's not good soccer. For me, the way that they played against Philadelphia was the best that we've seen so far in 5. We hope that that ladder continues to keep going up and Atlanta United can keep climbing the ladder to being the best team in this league. They're on the right pathway. They're on the right road.
Another Atlanta United player who scored on Saturday and has done a really good job getting into dangerous spots over the last week is Emerson Hyndman. And before we talk to Emerson, just if you could, Jason, maybe evaluate what you've seen from Emerson so far this year, because as far as Heinze wants him positioned, it is a little bit of a new philosophy for Hyndman, isn't it?
Yeah, Emerson Hyndman's a central midfielder who can play any of the roles. We've seen him mostly in that 8 role, if we're going to go with the 6-8-10 nomenclature, and 6 is the defensive midfielder, 10's the playmaker, the attacker, 8 is the mix, the box to box, the back and forth. I think Emerson Hyndman has mostly played in that role in his career. He's mostly played that role here in Atlanta. The way that role functions this year is a little different. It is more attack minded, but it doesn't ignore the defensive side of it because this team's constantly rotating. And Emerson Hyndman is such a savvy player, such an intelligent player, that I think you see how he can fit into this because he reads the game so well. His off the ball movement is elite. It's elite right now because you'll see so many times where a sequence happens, and Atlanta United has a free run or a 1v1. Go back and see how it was created, and you will find many times that a selfless run from Emerson Hyndman to the opposite side of the field, dragging defenders away, creates a better opportunity for one of his teammates. He does so much that doesn't get on the stat sheet. Hyndman's essential, and when a Hyndman is playing well, I think this team plays very well.
Well, Emerson was nice enough to carve out some time for us on Thursday after training to discuss with us the Philadelphia match, the Chicago match, and what's to come this week. Well, Emerson, it's been a really busy couple of months, I guess, dating all the way back to mid-February when training camp started. And the one word that I have heard from so many of your teammates is intense. That's how training camp was. It feels like these first 5 competitions have been. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything's kind of been intense since the new manager's come in. He's kind of stamped his authority on the training sessions and what he wants from us. So I think as a group, we've been excited from day one since he's come in to really, integrate, with the style of play and, have everyone on the same page. And obviously a lot of new guys coming in. I think it's been a good start. Obviously, we haven't conceded too many goals except for the other night. And I think we've looked fairly dangerous offensively, and it's something we can just get better at. So far, so good.
Give us a little bit of a glimpse, Emerson, into how your role specifically has changed, like popping up in some of those pockets in the front 5 and starting to get some really dangerous opportunities on goal.
Yeah. For me, it was something that the manager asked kind of from day one when we met, and he saw me as a player that can get forward, but also someone he could rely on in the midfield to dictate play a little bit and combine with people. So for me, I've always seen myself kind of box to box, and that's kind of exactly what he wants from me. And it can change game to game. Sometimes a little bit deeper, sometimes higher, and wants me to get in the box. So yeah, for me, I think it's been perfect.
Well, Saturday against Chicago, you showed up in really dangerous spots twice and scored once. Why don't you take me through that goal, the third goal against Chicago of the match, and how that all unfolded from your perspective?
Yeah. For me, I mean, I missed a couple opportunities early on, so I was thrilled to actually finally score. And I was getting in the box all night, and that was kind of what was required of me that night. So I think it was good build-up play on the right side. I think Jack that came on did really well, and so did Jurgen. So he'd been putting crosses all night, getting by his guy, and obviously Jake had an unbelievable bit of skill in the box and probably deserved the goal in the end. But But, thankfully I was there to kind of put the game away and, walked away with 3 points.
How do you feel now, looking back at the Philadelphia game in Champions League and kind of the tale of two halves? The first half was brilliant, and the second half after the goal, it really seemed to get shaky, something we hadn't seen from the squad so far this year.
Yeah, it was a strange game because it was a game that we could have been, 2 or 3 goals up at halftime, and obviously it turns into a different game, and maybe they have to come out and play a little bit more. And it was one of those. I think we started the second half okay. I think everything was fine. We were building up just like we were first half. Maybe not as dangerous, but I think we would have got there as the half went on. And then just kind of a little bit of just lack of concentration, I guess, on the corner. And that can happen in any game. And, from then on, I think, there's some things we could work on, maybe calm our nerves a little bit and maybe take it a little bit slower in terms of, okay, let's get back into this. But in terms of the performance, there's a lot we can hold our heads high about. And, it was just one of those days.
I like one of the things that Gabby said on Thursday, that after the Philadelphia match, you guys were sad for one day. Then you can't be sad anymore because it's football. So how easy was it for you from a mental standpoint to turn the page quickly, knowing that you do have another match coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, it's really important. We're a group that we believe in what we're doing. We saw the game as, we were being a threat all game mostly. And then obviously things like that can happen where the team can counter, there's some mistakes, whatever. And like I said, it was just one of those nights the ball just wouldn't go in. So, the manager after the game said he was proud of the way we played and how we really tried to play and bring the game to them. And I think the whole group reflected that. Obviously, right after the game, you look at only the result, just as anyone would do. But when you reflect on it, watch it over, and look at the things we did, you can only be kind of excited about the future.
Looking ahead to this next week where there's a trip to New England and then the second leg of Champions League in Philadelphia, going to stay out on the road. What are some of the buzzwords right now to bounce back from that Philadelphia game in the camp?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's all about just believing in ourselves, believing in what we're doing, and I think that's been fine from day one, And the group's definitely. I mean, we all came together today. Everyone looks just as happy and just as motivated as before the game. So it's kind of out of our heads now, the result, in terms of trying to fix it. We've been doing that, and we've got our heads around the game Saturday. And then, we take it one game at a time. We'll focus on Philly when we need to. But, for now, we got an important game and a chance to get another 3 points.
You're coming up on your 2-year anniversary with Atlanta United, which is an example of time flying. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but I'm curious, 2 years in now, do you feel like you're becoming maybe more of a leader on this team, maybe adopting more of a leadership role?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that just comes with comfortability and an understanding with teammates, things like that you're never going to have coming straight in. And I think for me, I think I've grown into the team. I'm 25 now, so I'm almost like one of the veterans on the team. If you look at our squad, a lot of young players, and for me, being right in the center of the field, there's a lot of things I have to talk to teammates of. Our system isn't exactly the easiest thing to work out, so I have to be very vocal in the middle, communicate, and make sure guys are doing the right things, pressuring the right guys, that kind of stuff. So for me, the role is very important, and I take pride in that, and I try to do the best I can with it.
What are some of those lessons you try to pass on through your experience, whether it's Asante Sosa, who's new to the league, and Ezequiel Barco, who's really starting to emerge this year, or some of the homegrowns who jump into training sessions? What are some of the things you try to pass on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about it's all about having fun, but making sure your work ethic's right and all that kind of stuff. Every day in training, you have to approach training the right way every day. Even the guys that aren't playing, especially. I mean, I've been there, overseas. I've been through some tough years, and that's one thing that you can always look at yourself in the mirror when you come home is, did I give it all today? Did I try to improve myself? So, that's one of the things I go in with every day. And I'm not exactly a vocal leader, I wouldn't say, but I try to hold myself in the highest respects. And I think the rest of the team tries to do that as well. So I think we're in for a good year.
Okay, peek behind the curtain here for a second. I know the team was kind of sequestered together, at least at the start of training camp. You've been here 2 years now. Who do you hang out with the most off the pitch, or do you kind of stick to yourself?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit more different just because of COVID, but I mean, I kind of hang out with the younger group, I guess you'd say. You know, the Miles Robinsons, Mo Brooks, those kind of guys. We used to hang out all the time, obviously, and go out all the time, but it's a little different now. And obviously, we're in mid season, so everyone's usually a little bit tired from training now, things like that. But yeah, usually that crew go to dinner, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously the Argentinians like to hang out with each other, things like that. So there's little cliques and stuff. But I also do feel like it's a more group effort this year. There's a lot of guys that hang out with each other that normally you wouldn't suspect. So I think that's been good.
Friend comes in from out of town, first time in Atlanta. Where are you taking them for dinner?
Oh, for me, it has to be Umi, the sushi restaurant.
Oh,
I love a bit of sushi, so.
Good shout.
me too. Outstanding choice.
Sure.
You mentioned Brooks. We haven't seen him since Saturday. What does the Shiner look like right now? Is it pretty bad?
Yeah, he looks okay. It's he had a big black eye the day after, so I actually drove him home after the game and everything. Was talking to him, making sure he was staying awake, things like that. But he went through the whole protocol. He's looking all right. So
Good. We're glad to hear that. Emerson, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and good luck on Saturday and again on Tuesday.
of course, thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Well, great visiting with Emerson Hyndman. We really do appreciate his time. Let's check in from the proving ground now. A very difficult assignment for Atlanta United, too, this past Saturday, having to start the season in Louisville against one of the best clubs in USL Championship at maybe the best stadium in USL Championship, or one of them. And you know what? The Twos, they did a nice job, Jason. They hung on as long as they possibly could up there in Louisville.
The structure and organization for Tony Annan's side was really impressive against a team that is trying to win championships every year. You know, their aims are different. Louisville City is a club that has an amazing 15,000 seat stadium that they're trying to fill, and they're going to try to fill that by lifting trophies. They've been in the Eastern Conference final seemingly every year since they started. They've won it 3 of the last 4 years. This is a top team, and a team with a lot of veterans. And Atlanta United took a very young team up for their Twos to face them in the USL Championship opener. And it was a good performance. Louisville City took the game to them, but you could see Lou City getting frustrated at times because they couldn't break down a pretty stout defensive group from Atlanta United too.
Brandon Lamb, in particular, was someone who I know you were really pleased with on Saturday night.
Yeah, let's take a look at Brendan Lamb and some of the highlights. One of the youngest players in the group. We saw him a little bit for Atlanta United 2 late last season. He's in a holding midfield role, and they played a double pivot, Chris Allen and Brendan Lamb. Lamb on the ball, quality. The defensive work is what stood out to me, because he's getting to the point, now that he's getting minutes in USL Championship, as you see him close things down quickly right there, he's getting to the point that he reads the professional game really well. And that's one of the hardest jumps because it's so much faster. Everything is at a greater intensity. And Lamb doesn't play like his age. That's a hard thing to do when you're a teenager. He doesn't play like a young teenager with only a handful of professional games under his belt. He looked like he belonged against one of the top teams in the USL Championship. We saw him a little bit against Charleston in the joint training exercise in preseason, and he looked like he belonged in that too. It's really impressive to see, the homegrowns that have been signed by Atlanta United, and we've seen them over the years. It's this generation that's coming. The guys in Brendan Lamb's age group, and Lamb's leading that charge. That's the group that a number of them have been with the academy from day one. Their youth soccer experience has been in Atlanta United's academy from 10, 11, 12 years old. So they've grown up in a professional environment. It shows with a guy like Lamb who can jump into this game, a difficult game, on the road. We know all the challenges that come with those. Fit right in and was maybe the best player on the pitch for Atlanta United too in the first match.
Speaking of the homegrowns, this is kind of a unique opportunity this week. The Twos are in Oklahoma City. And the first team will go to New England on Saturday and then stay up there because they're going to play Philadelphia on Tuesday. It helps to reduce the travel. Heinze did say that some of the younger players, he mentioned the homegrowns in particular, who may not have an opportunity to play for the first team on Saturday or Tuesday, will have the opportunity to go play with Atlanta United 2 in Oklahoma City. So we saw a little bit of that in Louisville last week, and that's a trend that it appears is going to continue at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it even wouldn't surprise me if the twos match, which is an 8:30 Eastern kick on Saturday night. So after the first team plays in New England, you'll only miss about half of the first half by the time that game ends. You can flip over on ESPN Plus and watch the twos out in Oklahoma City. It wouldn't surprise me if when you do that, you see a lot of academy players with the twos in that match because 2 games on one trip, maybe you take a few extra players who might not play against New England, but might play against Philadelphia or vice versa. Maybe those guys elect to go on that trip rather than go play a match for the twos. So you could see more players of Brendan Lamb's age group. It could be a very young team that goes out to Oklahoma City, who OKC Energy lost to their in-state rivals FC Tulsa on the weekend 3-1. This is a game that Atlanta United, too, if they play like they did against Louisville, they can go get a win.
No doubt. Okay, so let's take a look around the league right now. We're in the third week of the MLS season. Week 2 this past weekend. There's actually, believe it or not, as we look at the results, there's only one team left in the league that's 2-0-0. Columbus, by the way, didn't play last week, and they could be. But right now, there's only one team that has 2 wins. That's the LA Galaxy. You see some of the other results from this past weekend. Philadelphia having a tough time against Miami. New England, D.C., that was a 1-0 match. We're going to break that down in just a moment. But it all started on Friday out in Kansas City, Jason, and Orlando City has had 2 very hard-earned draws to begin their season, but what Nani did for them on Friday night was really spectacular.
Yeah, let's jump into some of the plays of the weekend. And this Nani goal, it's the only goal Orlando has all season. A little back heel half volley from the top of the 6. That's not something you are taught as a kid. You don't do finishing exercises with, back to goal. Just pop a little back heel in and get it. That doesn't happen unless you have that kind of instinct. It was very impressive. Mason Toye is very impressive for Montreal early on. Nashville gave up goals early again. And Toye, you see him get his head up, pick out the upper corner, beats Willis. Montreal ended up getting a draw there. San Jose with a very impressive performance in their home opener against Dallas. Cade Cowell, his goal, he's one of the young players, one of the young homegrowns to watch. Very young. He doesn't look it. He's a big lad, Cade Cowell, but he's showing a lot of composure in goal-scoring opportunities. You know the Higuain brothers are going to have that composure in goal-scoring opportunities. It is one brother feeding another with Gonzalo's header that equalized things for Miami. And then it's Federico with the go-ahead goal that ends up being the winner. First time you've seen brothers score in a match for an MLS side. That's a big win for Miami against a pretty first-choice Philadelphia team. Another big win from the weekend was Austin. We haven't really known what to expect from the new expansion team. They went to Colorado, fell behind 1-0, and then came back to win 3-1. That's a statement. And their fans making the trip to Colorado is also a statement, by the way. But this is a good Austin team that gets forward really well. When we were talking about them in preseason, we thought they'd be strong defensively, good in the midfield, thought the spine was pretty good. We questioned the attack. Cecilio Dominguez with 2 goals in Colorado. Austin is a team you can't sleep on. They've got one of the more interesting games this week when we get to the schedule. But we got to talk Chicharito, right? Chicharito with 5 goals in 2 games. He had a hat trick against the Red Bulls. And it was classic Chicharito. You see the movement off the ball. You see him getting into those kind of poaching situations. His movement in the final third, and especially in the 18, is still world class. It's always been what has separated him from the rest of the pack. he always seems to find the ball in dangerous spots. And it's not by accident. He doesn't have a magnet under his jersey. He's still that guy who is always finding the back of the net. Can he add to his 5 goals? The Galaxy, as we look at the schedule this week, they go to Seattle in one of the big games of the weekend. Does Chicharito set the record for MLS in goals in the first 3 games? Right now, Ante Razov has that with 6. Chicha only needs 1 to equalize it, 2 to go ahead.
Seattle, though, is not an easy team to break down, but Chicharito, for the moment, is on pace to score 80 goals in the league year. I'm not quite sure he'll sustain that.
I don't think so.
A couple other matches I'm looking at. I am very intrigued at this Montreal Columbus match. Columbus was off last week. Montreal had an opportunity to get 3 more points and be the only team in the Eastern Conference on 6. Obviously, the Atlanta-New England match, we'll talk about that in a moment. And I'm also hoping, Jason, that New York City, who had a goleada last weekend against Cincinnati, will at least make Philadelphia Union work really, really hard this weekend. It's an uphill climb for Atlanta United at Subaru Park on Tuesday, but hopefully the citizens will make Philadelphia Union have to put in a lot of work.
That would be much appreciated from Ronnie Dyla's side. We'll see if they can pull that off. I don't know how to feel about New York City yet. And with the rumors out of Brazil on Tati Castellanos, is he staying? Is he going? It sounds like it could be a bit of a soap opera. I am looking at Montreal and Columbus. I'm looking at Portland this weekend as well against Dallas. Do they have CCL kind of hangovers after emotional back-and-forth games where they got draws, but they wanted more in the home leg? They had to use a lot of energy in midweek to get what they did get out of it. They've got a chance to go to Mexico and pull off historic results. Do they maybe rest players for that, or maybe even overlook this weekend a little bit in league play? The other game I'm looking forward to outside of the Seattle Galaxy game to see if we can figure out if the Galaxy are for real is Minnesota and Austin. Is Austin for real? And what's going on with the Loons? 2 losses.
Yeah.
It's really surprising when the home opener, the storyline coming out of it is we're arguing about the goalkeeper kicking the ball up and it goes into the stands, and that distracted everybody from, honestly, a bad loss to RSL in your home opener, coming off the heels of a very bad loss on the road in Seattle. Minnesota sitting 0-2. I thought they could win the Western Conference. That feels like a little bit of a referendum game for Minnesota against the expansion team in Austin.
Yeah, and Austin's coming in hot. I would imagine the Loons will be feeling some pressure in that match this weekend. Mm-hmm. But we have number 2 in the East against number 3 in the East as it stands on the table right now. Obviously, there's a lot of ties atop the table just 2 weeks into the season. But Atlanta United at New England Revolution, and what's going to prove to be pretty big early season test. I think it's more of a test for New England, maybe more of a referendum game for them. Let's dig into the Revolution a little bit, Jason. They're 1-0-1. They opened the season with a draw in Chicago. Then they got a 1-0 win over DC last weekend on an own goal. As we dig into New England, let's start with the goals that they scored in Chicago after they went down 2-0 2 weeks ago.
So the Revolution gave up 2 goals early. They get a goal off of a corner. It's a pretty simple one, but it shows you the threat that Adam Buxa is up top. Great in the air, one of the best in the air in this league, and he just goes up over Francisco Calvo and wins it. You also see them get another goal from a set piece, this time a throw, where it's just quick movement from Buchanan. He gets in behind, slips it into Gustavo Bo, who we're going to talk about in a little more detail here in just a second. New England really excels in those restarts. They're a very well-coached team. They didn't excel in the early minutes against Chicago, and you see the passing from the Fire that Atlanta United likes to replicate. They want this kind of interplay and players popping up with runs off the ball. That's how Chicago scored one of the best goals of the season to open that opener at Soldier Field. Then it was another one with a good cross to the back post. New England gets opened up a little bit defensively, which I think is the weaker part of their side. And it's a late run, a la Ezequiel Barco, a la Emerson Hyndman. Now, the DC game, New England struggled to create chances. Their goal came off of an own goal, off of Heinz Ike, a defender. It's a good chance created. It's a good cross put in, but they didn't really get anybody on the end of it. Gustavo Bo played a different role in that match. He played up top next to Adam Buxa. You're going to see him highlighted here in these sequences, and you see how much he can do. He can finish in the 18. He can function as a true number 9. He's even back to goal a little bit in that game last week. So they can go 2 up top with Buxa and Bo. But he can also drop off, as he does here against Montreal from the postseason last year. He can drop into that zone 14 and be a playmaker, or he can hit a bomb from distance like he did against the then Montreal Impact to ruin their day in the postseason. Gustavo Bo La Pantera is that kind of player that you don't know where his heat map is going to be game to game. Sometimes he can drift out wide. Sometimes he can stay up very high. Sometimes he can drop in and almost be a number 10. Santiago Sosa will probably be the player who will be asked to account for him wherever he goes. If it's dropping into the midfield, then Sosa steps out and deals with it, and he plays as more of a holding midfielder. If Bo stays up high, Sosa's going to have to sit a little bit deeper and maybe function as a third center back like we've seen him do from time to time. New England tactically is really interesting because of Bo, because of Carlos Heel, because of guys who can play different roles in the same match. They're not an easy matchup. I do think Atlanta, though, can threaten their backline. If there's one weakness for New England, in my opinion, it is pace in the middle of the park, in the holding midfield and at center back. Joseph Martinez, if it's Cubo Torres, if it's Ezequiel Barco, if it's Emerson Heineman, if it's Marcelino Moreno cutting inside, as we've seen him do, Jurgen Damm cutting inside, Jake Mulroney maybe cutting inside, maybe we see Eric Lopez and his pace. You can threaten New England in the middle of their defense. They've got speed out wide. They're very good out wide. But I think if Atlanta gets what they want here, it'll come from central positions. They got to deal with Bo and Heel on the other side, though.
You mentioned their back line and their center backs. They also have an outstanding goalkeeper, Matt Turner, runner-up in the goalkeeper of the year vote last year, really helped New England on that playoff run. They've got some great individual players. Carlos Heel was the newcomer of the year in the league in 2019, someone that Atlanta United saw in a playoff game in 2019, as a matter of fact. So big game. It's a great coaching matchup, by the way, too. You have Bruce Arena, who's I call him all the time, one of the OGs of American soccer coaching, against Gabriel Heinze. I think that's going to be an absolutely terrific coaching matchup. There are individuals all over the pitch. I think when we get to the end of the year, Jason, we might be able to count 4 or 5 players in this match on Saturday that might end up best 11 this year. I really feel strongly about that. Sosa could be one for Atlanta United. I think Heel, potentially Bo, maybe Buxa, maybe Turner. Obviously, I'm very high on Barg. I think everyone on Atlanta United would probably make a best 11 case at some point this year. But there are a lot of great individuals all over the pitch tomorrow night, or Saturday night. I really can't wait to see it.
Yeah, this is a big match. You know, I think New England still has a little bit of the perception from years ago that it wasn't an entertaining team. It was kind of a workman-like team. Not anymore. Carlos Heel is one of the fun players in this league to watch week to week. When you're looking for other games to watch outside of the Atlanta United match each week, Carlos Heel's a player you got to keep an eye on. Gustavo Bo's a player you got to keep an eye on. They've got more coming. Like, this is a really well put together New England Revolution side. Bruce Arena went there not because he was bored. He went there because he thought he could win a title. And I don't think they're far off. I really don't think they're that far off. Maybe one player away, or one player taking a leap in what they can give them. I think defensively, you know, this feels like a game that maybe could be a bit of a shootout because of the way Atlanta wants to open the game up and the way New England can attack, but also the way that maybe defensively you can get in behind them.
What does our friend Jillian Sakovic say on the call up? I'm here for it. If we're going to have a shootout, I am here for it.
She's going to file gimmick infringement on you now.
No, come on. Jill's good with it. You know, we should probably interview Jill at some point for the AT&T countdown to kickoff. That might be a fun one. Let's get to predictions now. I'm still going to assume at least partial credit for what I had last week, Atlanta United scoring a goal off a direct free kick or
Half
penalty.
credit. I'll give you half credit.
All right, I'll take it. A half point is good. And I don't want to repeat predictions in back-to-back weeks.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say that Atlanta United will score off a penalty or a direct free kick. Okay. However, New England Revolution has committed the most fouls of any team in the league through the first 2 weeks. Just keep an eye on that. But that's not my prediction. My prediction is I think Jackson Conway is going to make his MLS debut. Now,
that's
obviously,
bold.
we have not seen the team sheet, and we won't get the team sheet until an hour before kickoff on Saturday. I have a feeling Jackson Conway is going to make his MLS debut. Might be as a substitute, might be as a starter, but here's why I say that. Joseph Martinez played 90 minutes Tuesday night against Philadelphia. I don't know if he's ready to give you 90 minutes again on Saturday. Lisandro Lopez dealing with personal issues right now. Not clear if he's going to play on Saturday. Kubo Torres has been a little bit unlucky in front of net right now. I think this is an opportunity for Jackson Conway. He's been with the first team in a CONCACAF Champions League match. I predict Jackson Conway is going to make his MLS debut. And now that I say that, he'll probably be in Oklahoma City on Saturday.
I like the boldness of that prediction. That was one I didn't see coming.
No risk, no biscuit, right?
That's true. That's true. I'm not going in that direction. I'm going with a player that we have seen have a big night at Gillette Stadium in the past. We were there when Ezequiel Barco scored one of the goals of his career. We had the perfect angle to watch the curl on that shot. I think Ezequiel Barco has a goal or an assist on the weekend. I think Barco has a big night because the way this game can kind of line up, I think he's going to have a good bit of space to operate in. I think this is a team that will struggle to deal with him in the middle of the park. Chris Penso is the referee. It'll be really interesting because we've seen him throw a lot of cards early. And if Ezequiel Barco can run at players, and he draws a ton of fouls, if he can run at players, get them on yellow cards, then they've got to make a decision. You know, a second yellow from Penso is not out of the realm of possibility early. It's not. So do they continue to play physically against Barco, as we see a lot of teams do, or do they back off and then give him more space to operate in? That could end up really helping Barco. I think he has a goal or an assist on the weekend.
And then remember, Atlanta United will play the following Tuesday at Subaru Park in Philadelphia with a massively uphill climb in front of them, down 3-0, 3 road goals against as they play the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinal, but you never know what can happen there. As far as Saturday is concerned, Jason and I will be on the radio on Star 94 in Atlanta and on the Atlanta United app and Odyssey.com starting at 6:30 Eastern time on Saturday. And for those of you watching on television, make note, the match is going to be on the CW69 in Atlanta for this week only. So look for it there on your TV, either over the air on your usual providers. CW69 will have the match, and Kevin and Mo and Jill will be on the air at 7 o'clock Eastern time for that. So we hope you will join us for what I think is going to be a lot of fun, a big match, big early season test for both Atlanta United and New England Revolution. We hope you've enjoyed the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, and we're going to see you at the same time next week on Atlanta United's YouTube channel as we preview what's become a little bit of a derby game over the last year, Atlanta United and Inter Miami. But enjoy this weekend, and thanks for joining us.